Call this meeting to order at 5:30. Any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes. We can take select board old business B performance evaluation process off
Okay.
because I didn't get to it. I mean, I got partly to it, but I'm not ready to present it to you all yet.
Okay. Karen, you have anything? Cool, excellent.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear us? Can you folks hear us? We can't hear you.
Oh, you know.
Oh,
Awkward. There we go.
How about now?
can you hear us?
Yep, now we can hear you.
Do you have any adjustments?
Let me just say the adjustment.
Okay.
Karen, I just said that my adjustment to the agenda was to take the town manager performance evaluation process off for this agenda and put it on the next one.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have any adjustments, Karen?
Not at this time.
Okay. Alright, any select board announcements?
Michael to come sit. I don't mind. No, he had to call somebody who's coming in. Thank you.
Any public comment not on the agenda? Mr. Fairman?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to repeat something I said during public comment at the previous meeting, which because it was a work session was not well attended. I had commented previously on the dumping of demolition debris up at the former Quinn property, I believe. And I then saw that it was used to build a retaining wall. And I just wanted to be sure that everyone knew this, and I thought probably it was a little remarked at the previous meeting, so I'll mention it again for the last time. I don't repeat myself yet.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anything online? I guess not. Okay. Approval of the minutes for October 15th and October 22nd.
All right, we need to,
Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All set?
All set.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Fairman.
Point of open meeting order. Are any members of the select board attending online right now?
No.
Oh, I wasn't sure because two are missing, so they're simply missing.
Fletcher's gonna be late.
The reason I asked is because they're supposed to identify themselves, that was all.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Can you see who's online?
Is that TV working or no?
Can you see the TV?
There isn't a TV here.
Oh, it's only
Oh,
one,
it's just this one.
one
Yeah.
light.
Died a few
Doesn't
days
matter.
ago.
If I wanted, I could look over there.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alright. Warrants to the treasurer. Karen?
Does somebody want to make a motion to move them,
Yes.
Sure.
please?
I make a motion.
Second.
Okay, so we have an extra accounts payable warrant from October 17th, 2025. These are electronic payments that did not get captured on the 10/17/2025 warrant. So I'm requesting that the select board approve these. And it is for payroll transfer and the Vermont Department of Taxes. And actual payroll. And it's in the amount of $11,836.05. And I made a comment that the last accounts payable was really small, and this is part of the reason. But Kim noticed this, and we're making the correction now.
Okay.
Can we move these all together?
We can do them as a slate, right, Karen?
Yes,
Okay.
yep.
So now we're gonna look at payroll warrant dated October 31st, 2025 in the amount of $21,338.22. So we do have the Parks and Rec director in here. As a monthly stipend. All set?
Yeah.
Okay. Accounts payable dated October 18th through October 31st, 2025 in the amount of $170,705.34. In this warrant, on the first page, you'll see Advantage Truck Group, and that is for repairs. On two of our dump trucks, $17,774.42. We still have one truck that's being diagnosed, and we haven't seen a quote yet to fix that one. What else is in here? D. Bernardo Associates for the cemetery, $4,825. That was for a survey to map the remaining lots in Mount Pleasant. So that work has been completed. And I'm very happy about that. And so are the cemetery commissioners. MVP Healthcare, our monthly $17,733.54. Pete's Tire Burn on page 3 is $16,924.20. That is for tires for several different pieces of equipment to get them ready for the winter.
I hope it's a lot of tires.
Yes, a lot of tires all at once. The other big number is on page 4, Vermont Integrated Architects, $31,585.29. That is the architect that is helping with the town hall renovations.
And the Casella Waste Management, is that sludge from the?
Yeah, that's sludge, and I gotta look at that because the invoice had 2 locations, one in New York, one in Montpelier, Vermont, and the rate for the Montpelier was $1 more than the one in New York. So that is a conversation I will be having with our wastewater treatment plant operator and understand why there's such a big difference.
Okay. All right, can I hear a motion? Or, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Town manager's report.
Oh man, I always lose it. All right, I have several reports. I'm gonna try to, roll through these as quickly as possible. Putney Fire Department monthly report, September 15th through October 27th. EMS, 30 calls, automatic fire alarms, 10, good intent, 3, lift assist, 4, false alarm, 1, assist other agency, 1, propane emergency, 1, unauthorized burning, 1, trailer fire, 1, motor vehicle accident, 1. So total of 53 calls. Training, they reviewed fire hydrant operations and equipment locations on the apparatus. Maintenance, flush the municipal fire hydrants. Thank you very much. Dry hydrant maintenance, perform weekly and monthly apparatus and equipment checks. Work in progress. The capital plan has been completed. Continue to review and implement recommendations from AP Triton report. Next year's budget has been completed. Updated staff pay structure and develop departmental structure. Yeah, a lot of work's being done, and I can honestly, I looked at the AP Triton report and actually updated some of the administrative tasks from my office. So I know the officers will be meeting next week. I will most likely be at that meeting to get a complete update and have a report for the select board. So I know they're working on a model plan right now. We need to tie some things in together, and we'll be coming to the select board by next month. Just got to figure out the right date. Highway department update. So the projects they've been working on in the field, they're working their way around town, doing fall grading, blowing leaves off the road, cleaning all the culverts around town that needed it, installing a couple new culverts. So basically replacing the rotten metal ones. Maintenance on equipment and trucks. The crew has started the process of undercoating all the trucks. A couple of dump trucks have received some work that was needed to keep them operating. Crew has started installing new tires on trucks for winter and will continue that process next couple rainy days, which we will have this week. Within the next week, crew will be putting plow frames on the trucks. Plows and sanders have all been looked at and are ready for the winter months. I will make sure that sidewalk machine also is ready to roll. We always seem to have a little issue with that thing starting up for the first run of the season. I also want to state that Lenny has met with Scott Jensen. He is with the State of Vermont Stream Alterations Division out of our Springfield, Vermont office. And Lenny and Scott Jensen inspected Old Stage Road Bridge, Sand Hill Bridge. And Scott's going to generate 2 separate reports for us to have options and alternatives on what to choose for these 2 locations. And there is 1 or 2 undersized culverts that are damaging private property, one being on Holton Brook. And so Scott has talked to Lenny about that and how do we address it, you know? How do we start the process? So we'll be looking at that as well. So there is a lot is getting done as they prepare for winter. From my office, the water line work is complete on Alice Holloway. Should I just ask, does anybody have any questions? You want me to keep going? Should I pause?
I just have one quick question about the bridges.
Sure.
Yeah, and what's the issue with those bridges that we're looking for solutions?
So the old stage road bridge is the one that we received a letter from the state of Vermont. So there's an abutment that is underneath it, it's being scoured by the water.
Right.
So that's not going to be an easy fix. So Scott will give us options, whether we just try to repair the one abutment or we look at a whole different design, which is going to be costly. So once we have that report, it'll come to the select board and then you can decide if we can get a structures grant to fix that too. That would be good. The other thing too, Peg, is sometimes what they recommend is like you build a cement wall on the outside of that other one. But it's tricky when you're in a stream, because what you don't want to happen is any material to like continue to just like be undermined and then go downstream.
Yeah, I just needed a reminder of what the issue with the bridges were. So I remember
Yeah.
that one,
Yeah.
it washing out underneath, and the Sand Hill.
And Sand Hill, we have that report that was done by the environmental consultant. So we had Scott look at the bridge because that too's one side is scoured away. And Scott said that bridge didn't look that bad. So once we get his report, we can take a look at it, see what the recommendations are. And, maybe the bridge stays there. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the Beaver are creating a dam just below the bridge. Whether or not it'll stay, who knows? It seems like every time they build there, it washes away. But will that impact, the bridge? Once we get Scott's report, then we'll know more.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the water line work is complete on Alice Holloway Drive. EJ Prescott completed a live tap installation of an insertion valve, which did not require shutting water off to multiple properties. The water valve on the end of the line was also installed. So this required Putney Meadows service line to be shut down. Once the water valve was installed, the line was flushed and water was turned back on to Putney Meadows. So there was no boil water notice, as the system did not depressurize below 20 psi. So it was a mostly controlled maintenance and installation. So everything worked out well. Knock on wood. It took a while to figure that one out, but the Planning Commission Chair Sue Coakley and I had made a decision not to submit an application for the municipal planning grant for comprehensive recreational study. There are too many projects occurring at this moment, and we need to spend time moving the current projects forward, such as Putney Land and Sidewalk and the Town Hall renovation project. The zoning bylaw modernization is still in motion, and it's getting to the end of that project. Also, the village comprehensive village plan study is also going to start up. So we just don't have the bandwidth to add another project to our platter. So don't be disappointed.
Seems like wise.
So a sidewalk inventory walk was conducted on Friday, October 24th. Connie Richards, with the assistance of Ruby McAdoo, Putney Community Care, spent 2.5 hours walking a route from Putney Meadows to the intersection of Kimball Hill and then Old Route 5. This work is being conducted with the assistance and potential grant funding from AARP. So there were quite a few people. There were state people there with us, and it was good to take a walk and look at, where sidewalks are needed, how we can look at traffic calming, and they let me operate the radar gun, which was like it was good. So I'm excited to get a report back from them, and then we can share it with the select board. But this is something that Putney Cares will lead, and hopefully the inventory will help with the comprehensive village study, so they can incorporate this information. I met with Pip and Sue to review proposals for the Putney Landing Sidewalk project. I will be contacting the state of Vermont, John Lemure, to let him know of our decision and contact the consultant for the next steps. So that project is going to get started. Go ahead, Peg.
When do we talk to the banks about where the sidewalk's going between the banks? We've never heard anything about that.
That'll be part of the process with the consultant. So the other piece with the consultant is actually narrowing down the cost to put the crosswalk with the lights. And we have to obtain the easements, because that may be an additional cost as well. So the consultant will have a cost estimate, and as soon as we contract with them, we'll probably be working with the bank soon.
It just seems like that is a major piece of this project, right? We have to get permission to go through there. I just haven't heard anything, any communication to say that they're interested, or, they're open to it, or, we're hoping
Right.
that to be true, yes?
Yep.
So I know with the third phase of the sidewalk going to Landmark, I came in where the easements were already in place, except for one. But that worked, then we put it out to bid, and, so it almost coincides with one another. But you're right, it's a conversation, because if they don't want it there, it'll have to go somewhere else.
It goes the plan.
Yep. Yep. The other item I have is zoning is busy. I have 3 applications for November Development Review Board. I have probably processed 3 in the last 5 days. So zoning is, there's a lot. Town Hall monthly report, renew Town Hall. So in October, we engaged with HP Cummings to work with Renew Town Hall team to review cost estimate and put actual costs for renovating Town Hall. So we should see that probably next week. And those numbers are going to be firm. And those are the numbers that we'll be able to work with moving forward. So I'm having a small meeting with them on Friday, October 31st at 11:30 to review and answer any questions they may have. I attended a bond bank webinar today. This would be, if we were going to move forward with the renovation, there's potential that we may need a bond vote. I'm not able to contact USDA as federal government is still on shutdown. I'm still hopeful that that's a second avenue to to borrow money from. And we should hear from SEDS by December if our project for renewed town hall is chosen. And if it is, then we have the opportunity for additional funding to reduce the overall cost of the project. We're working on the Vermont Community Rural Development Access Modification Pre-application with Renewed Town Hall team. The pre-application is due November 3rd. The full application is due January 2026. That's like $150,000, and we're targeting an elevator for that grant. So we're hopeful that, every little bit helps and it reduces the bigger number. I've also requested an air test of the building. That'll give us a better idea for clean air and mold. There is a leak in the roof from the last rainstorm. So I need to contract with a company that has a drone to fly over and determine where that leak potentially could be. And that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. And that's all I have right now on that. That's all I have.
Any public comment on the town manager's report? Mr. Fairman?
Mr. Chairman, it happens that that because it's a very informative report, I have several points, but I'll be as quick as I can. The most recent one is getting a drone company to have a look at the roof. How about asking the fire department to bring a ladder? Okay, now regarding the sidewalk easement, there should be no trouble whatsoever because it can be put on 802 Credit Union land, and there are certainly hundreds of member owners of 802 Credit Union in Putney, including me. I'll send an email to our CEO, Sean Gammon, up in Burlington tomorrow, giving him a heads up that we're going to be asking for this. And I'm publicly suggesting to other member owners of 802 Credit Union that they do the same, because I'm pretty sure we can simply make it happen as a gesture of goodwill to the community. As a former corporate guy, I know that if you're dealing with M&T, with all due respect to them, you have to deal with corporate, and that's going to take some time, but I'm pretty sure with 802, we can simply just put it right through. I wanted to mention, I saw today that the hole has been filled in down at Alice Hallway, and I want to congratulate the people who replanned that project so that water did not have to be shut off in the southern end of Putney Village. I am curious though, what's this trench that's been dug down Alice Hallway Drive? So that's a question for their town manager.
So Mr. Fairman, that is for the water line extension that will connect the two buildings, and there's a fire hydrant going on the corner.
Thank you. Okay, so we're down to the final 2 points. You mentioned you've got problems with scouring up there on Old Stage Road. I'm assuming the problem is with a wing wall?
It's an abutment.
Well, abutments usually, they have, there's the part that goes straight across that holds up the bridge. Then there's a couple of, there's a wall on each side that runs on a diagonal called a wing wall that is supposed to divert the water. In any event, I can tell you that if you ask Dummerston how they repaired the wing walls on the West River covered bridge in West Dummerston, you probably can get some advice on whom to have do it and how it was done, because it was really successful when they did that. And of course, that bridge was a real risk because it is a covered bridge, not just a box culvert you can tear out and put a new one in. Finally, I gave you a heads up a while ago that I'd be asking you today, if you're ready, can you tell us the amount of money that the town of Putney spent on repairing gravestones in our cemeteries by year during the past few years?
I gave that to the cemetery commissioner, John Johnson. Your question. He is an elected official. So I don't have an answer for you, Howard. again, I gave it to the elected officials.
Well, of course, we know that the gentleman works for you, so are you telling me that you're not going to do it and I have to go to the cemetery commissioners?
I would recommend you go to the cemetery commissioners because they would know
Well,
that information.
what I'm doing here is I'm working on making this public because as far as I can tell, no gravestones are being repaired, which of course is required by state law. So, okay, we'll take that under advisement and work it through, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alright. Moving on, nothing under boards, committees, and commissions, so we'll move on to select board new business. Sewer and water connection, 12 from 14 Kimball Hill.
I asked earlier, my name's Brenda Pratt, I asked earlier if, I could put Neil Madow, who is the property owner of 12 and 14 Kimball currently, on the phone to participate in the meeting. So I'm gonna get him on speakerphone, and also Michael's here too, Marquis.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to...
All right, we'll try again later, but were you gonna speak?
I don't know if Karen wants to
Karen, you wanna start?
kick things off.
No, I can start. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Karen.
Thank you for coming.
Sure.
So in your packet is the request for connection of water and sewer to 12 Kimball Hill. The select board has heard this in the past. And the current situation, as zoning administrator, I can say that Mr. Madow has a permit for 2 units for that building. Mr. Marquis has submitted flowage for 1 unit. Pardon?
Yeah, they're starting your agenda. Karen's speaking now. Hold on. Okay. Can you hear him?
I can hear, yes, thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, Karen.
So Eric and Fletcher, in front of you is an email. And that is from legal counsel dated July 31st, 2024. When Chip Greenberg had first put forward a request to connect 12 Kimball Hill. You will see from legal counsel's comments, direction for the board. It is up to the select board. You are the sewer and water commissioners to approve or disapprove requests for allocation and connection to the system.
Karen, when you say that the select board has seen it before, I wasn't here. Are you saying that they've seen this specific property before? Okay.
No, Karen, go ahead.
So in your packet, Bex,
Yep.
is pretty much the history for 12 Kimball Hill.
I've looked at all of it. I guess I didn't see specific dates, but it's good to know this is round 2. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, this is coming back around.
This number is 6,900, that's the back water connection fees that weren't paid when the system went in, is that correct?
No, so that would be the fee if they connected to municipal water and sewer. What they're trying to do is connect the small building to the back building for water.
And it's off a private well now, is that?
It's not, it has no water sewer connected to it whatsoever. Has not had any.
Fletcher, what is that you have there?
Well, this is a memo from town council, and he's really raising some questions both about title and permit as the property exists. You know, I haven't really had enough time to digest it all, but it seems there's some question as to whether it's one lot or two, separate ownership. If it somehow got, well, I think even without a deed combining the parcels, if the two parcels, they're undersized parcels for the zone. And if they come into common ownership, there's a significant possibility that it would create a merger where they would legally become one parcel, at least for all zoning purposes. But Larry isn't clear what's happened. I think it looks to me like there needs to be some more research done. He's also raising an issue about the physical structures 12 and 14. I guess Mr. Nadeau has said the rear building is, which is number 12, is connected to the front building, which is number 14. And Larry's questioning whether that connection was ever approved with any permit from the town, which doesn't, I quickly flipped through the paperwork. I didn't see anything about that, but it seems as if there's, you know, from our standpoint, we need to do some more research. We need, either Larry needs to get into the land records, or somebody needs to come up with an explanation of both title and the physical, what's the status of the physical structure? Is it a joint structure or two separate structures?
Neil, did you hear any of that?
No, it wasn't very audible.
Can I put this closer so he can hear what you're saying?
You could brief me on it.
Here, I'm gonna put you closer to the people that are speaking so you can hear. I'm sorry, there you go.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So, is it my opportunity to speak now, or?
Go ahead, Neil.
Okay. Thank you to the board for taking the time for this meeting. I'm in Tucson, Arizona. Been stuck here for months, quite ill. Otherwise, I'd be there in a heartbeat. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let me be as brief as possible. I know this subject was discussed a couple years ago, and the whole denial, regardless of all the details, has not been recognized and accepted because, I guess in plain language, it states in the town's ordinances that every building, regardless of its location and size and proximity to the main building, which might have town water, or in this case, yes, is not permitted, which I've got my own reasoning, which I think that is very prohibitive for healthy growth because of the expense and all the logistics. So I can explain that later. Basically, I think it hasn't been considered because of that statute. There is, engineering-wise and water supply-wise, more than adequate enough water, and that's why Michael Marquis is there to testify to that adequate nature, so that shouldn't be a concern. There have been times previously that I've taken part in my building at 14 Kimball, which is the larger of the two structures, and have gotten permits, both, authorized by a licensed plumber and the town, without having to go through a meeting. So I don't know why this is really different, but I'm just obliging what I've been told is necessary. That's why we're having this meeting. And it's very prohibitive cost-wise, time-wise, to put a separate water system in, because it doesn't make, in my mind, I could be otherwise convinced, doesn't make any sense. I think it's a very counterproductive to healthy development and residential units, which is an important feature, important aspect of the world we live in. And I'll give you a hypothetical, which could be a reality if the circumstances were different, is that there could be an individual or family that owns a little farm in the town area that's permitted, and they have a garage next to their house, and they want to bring water in because they've expanded their agricultural and livestock, and they now have llamas or chickens, whatever, and they need water. And for that person, it is if they abide by the same consistent rules that every building is a separate engineered water supply, which costs thousands and thousands of dollars, they couldn't do it unless they go through that process. That really, I think, really takes the sensibility out of somebody who wants to just expand their livelihood. That isn't imposing any problems. I did call the state twice a couple of years ago, and I inquired about it, and they basically gave me the same answer, that if the system is above ground, they get involved with the permitting process because there's leaching of water and so forth. But anything underground is solely under the discretion of the town. But the town has this, I think, difficult thing. It's going to, if there's consistency in the town, which is a whole different subject, I don't want to get into that, it's not my style to point fingers, but if there's consistency, it will really, really slow down any development of somebody who wants to make an extra residential unit that is attached to the house. So that's my main argument. And on top of that, since the last meeting, I got the proper permits to put 2 apartments in, which is now just 1 apartment, which less than subordinate anyhow. And it was denied on the same reason, that even though it was basically attached to, it wasn't attached, but it was like a couple feet away. I permitted extra room, and the water supply from 14 would go into the foundation or the structure of that building under the floor. So it's not directly going to be over the land, which is a concern for the state. So that also shouldn't be a concern. But once again, every response I get from the town manager, she's just doing what she's obligated to do, is enforce the town rule, is you need a separate permit, which could be, and when I did it in my other building, it was like $20,000. I had to break into Kimball Hill with an excavator and all the paving and all that. I had to get a licensed engineer, which is a few $1,000s, and that will be a real prohibitive necessity if this rule continues to be as it is, which is it's treated like an independent thing. So even if it was independent, it should still go through. In my case, what's the difference between my buildings, which are now attached physically, is underground, any different than if I wanted to put an extra bathroom into 14 Kimball, which did get a permit and get all the proper procedures many years ago, it wouldn't be a problem. So I don't get why this is such an issue. And it's delayed. I'm way over budget by a tremendous amount of money. The payback is not there, which is not your concern, but you know, things are very costly these days. And I've been trying to get my voice heard for almost a year now, and I finally have my opportunity to speak what I believe should be within my rights. And I get it. So that's it in a nutshell. So I'm babbling stuff, but I really appreciate you have open eyes and look at it from a pragmatic level of why is there that regulation, and why is it any different than if it was an additional apartment in an existing building that has a permit? Because at this point, I think it's one and the same unless you convince me otherwise. I apologize for going on, but this is a sort of emotional thing. So thanks for listening, and I can answer any questions you may have, please.
Thank you, Neil. Anybody have any questions for Neil?
Well, it looks from the memo from town council, there's a number of sort of intersecting problems here. One is a lot size problem. The village district requires a lot area minimum of 10,000 square feet for a 1, 2, or 3 family dwelling. And I haven't done the math on this yet, but that building in front looks, if it is a separate parcel, it looks like it's a problem from that standpoint. But then there's the issue of whether have they been physically connected or not. It sounds as if Mr. Madow was saying they have not. So we run into the sewer ordinance, which says a separate and independent building sewer shall be provided for every building except where one building stands to the rear of another or on an interior lot has no private sewer available. And then you can extend the front sewer to the back sewer. But then we have a water system rule also. No customer shall have a sequential connection. Each structure shall be served by a direct connection. So it sounds like it might be possible to work something out on the sewer, but the water is still going to need 2 connections. And we need to sort out the basic zoning issue of whether the development of this small lot for residential use. I don't know whether it meets the minimums or not.
I understand the point. If I may, please just make a comment on that. Is that
Go ahead, Neil.
sometimes zoning ordinances, have a sensibility and a practicality, but often they have an arbitrary element to it that I think has to be addressed on a one-to-one basis, because zoning should be to protect the environment and protect your neighbors and anything else that could be a negative influence. I don't see why my building, which was a dilapidated building in the middle of town, that I finally had the time and energy to put money into. I know this is not a justification, but certainly emotionally, it's a question about what it took to get it up to the ability to have a pleasant place for a tenant. What is it really? Is not creating any more noise? Is not creating any potential environmental problems? It's just it might make sense in the bigger picture, but I think the town should be able to have a sort of an objective look at, well, what is the problem here? If it was a problem, problem with zoning, it's not, I should never gotten, building permits, quite frankly, and building permits, because I want to do everything, above radar, but now it sounds like the dimensions of what you just mentioned don't meet the necessity dimensions. So, maybe, let's, if you split hairs, you say, yes, it's a separate building. It's not a separate building now. They're attached to the common law, ownership. If I have town water, the regulated water, I can never subdivide, because then there will be a potential problem with, how does the second owner of the second building take responsibility for an independent water system? So that bumps it out. So on that level, I can't ever split it off. There's a real question that I've discussed with Karen about the ability to actually subdivide, which would give the building more value, and I'm ready to concede that that's not what is in the best interest. It might not be permitted, but this whole buildings that pre-existed zoning, and would the town really rather have an empty building? I mean, what if I couldn't generate income to justify? I've spent over $250,000 in property taxes since I've owned my buildings. I've never asked for anything, but I don't want to be horrible here, but it just seems absurd that what I'm trying to do only adds to the viability of downtown where they need housing. I don't know what to say about if you say an undersized lot. Well, that was always clear. There was, when I took ownership of the building, that brick building, the 12 Kimball, was actually owned by the former co-op at 12 that I own now. And Jocelyn Patel, who was our property manager, suddenly bought the property, and she didn't want to deal with the upgrade, the renovation, because it was really getting dilapidated. It was basically a tear down at that time. And the previous town manager, Cynthia, and my attorney found what I believe was a legal and logistic way of making it happen, where they transferred 12 Kimball, which is the building we're speaking about now, to 14, which I own, and took it off of 10, which is Johnson's building, the former Melvin building. And there's been confusion about addresses. I'm always correcting. Even the oil companies doesn't know what addresses are. And then your town attorney, Larry Slayton, was confused because the way it was written up, there wasn't a clear indication of what was 10, what was 12, what was 14, but I've done my best to try to explain that over and over again. I hate to sound so talky, but it really just comes down to what discretion does the town have to look at any of these laws in such a, in an objective way, as opposed to a hard and true literal reading of the stuff, and I'm the last person in the world that tries to point fingers at other people in town. That's not my style. I'm not a person who gets stopped for speeding, so everybody's speeding faster. That isn't justification. But I could almost guarantee you that if you looked through the entire system of all people that got onto the water system from day one to now, and upgraded to extend that in one fashion or another, didn't go through the rigmarole of a permit, and I think this goes for everything of every law, is that this is not directly related, but indirectly, is that there's importance of consistency. You're going to have lots of resentment and frustration when something's done and nobody says anything, and then somebody else has to go through, 2 years of not getting any revenue on a piece of property, that is, not my concern foremost, but that's certainly what I think would alleviate lots of confusion about many things in town. So, but that's not the subject here. So, you just let me know what you believe is something that you can grant or not grant, and I will do what I can. I mean, I would rather not have to go through a ZBA or not ZBA, a select board situation, but I think it's just sensible that how prohibitive this is if it's simply just saying you can't do it because it's not a separate building. So in any case, okay, well, thank you. And do you think you'll have a recommendation or an answer at the end of this meeting?
Thank you, Neil. I don't believe in my opinion, we can't.
I mean, Mr. Madow raises another issue that Larry's memo touches on. You have what I still think of as the Mellon building, the 10, you got 12, which I still think of as the co-op building,
Yeah.
and then 14. And how the problem is 12, the permit that was issued was for 10 and 12 together. But that was for apartments and retail space, and it's not clear what the retail space was, but Larry suspects that it was the co-op. And if that's the case, then that building has never been permitted for residential use. So we got to look at it from that standpoint. The issue of whether it is or actually has been legally connected somehow, that's another point that Larry says he can find no documentation on it. So I think what we have right now, with all due respect to
Neil, hang on a second.
to Mr. Madow and the policy considerations that he wants to raise, we got to figure out where it fits within our own regulations. And then the precedent for the proposition that we have to enforce our own regulations as they're written is, ironically enough, Fairchild versus Town of Putney, Vermont Supreme Court case. So I think we got to figure out how our regulations apply to this and then apply it. But first, it's kind of a lot of confusion. Maybe.
Next.
I just wanted to.
Neil.
Clarify something, please.
Neil.
I know you have to address these things
Neil.
on their merits,
Want to pause that or something for me?
there was
That's not applied.
when there was discussion of this, the town
He's gotta wait his turn.
Neil,
took it to
Just
your
take it.
town
Neil,
attorney.
you need to stop, you gotta wait your turn, he said.
I actually wanted to ask Neil a question.
Oh, okay, hold on.
I'm sorry.
Neil, when you were saying that these properties can't be separated because they're attached by a common, did you say a common wall and ownership?
Yes,
Okay. Just
Yes.
making sure I heard that right.
And Larry, I guess that point has been raised to him, and he specifically says, is it truly a structural connection or merely a superficial facade?
Mr. Martinez,
We need to know a whole heck of a lot more.
maybe Michael can give us, shine a little light on this.
Sure. So what I want to just comment on, we worked on this project and it was my business partner, so I'm not 100% on this, but I've tried to get up to speed. It was to get the permit for 14, which at the time had a sewer connection that was pre-existing, but still had a well on the property. When town water came in, we got the permit to extend the water line and bring that up. We did a 2-inch line, which was fairly sizable, and connected that to 14. So that was the permit on 14 that we got. So what we're looking at now, and I think the question that comes to the town, there's really 4 levels of effort and cost that I think have to be considered. The easiest is obviously with the new exemptions in the rules is just to go ahead, file the paperwork that we had in terms of sizing, get the okay from the town for increasing the allocation. That all gets filed with the town clerk, and we just connect directly to 14. No physical outside alterations. The second possibility is we actually permit what I'm talking about, and if the state requires that, I don't think there's any objection to physically getting a permit from the state to do that, not going through the exemption. The third possibility, I think you mentioned Fletcher, is just tying to that new water line, which is right outside of 12, and being able to tie into the sewer line because of 14 without going outside. The fourth and the most expensive possibility is not only tying in the water outside, but a new tie-in for the sewer outside. And that's going to get expensive because we have to cross the water line. We have to somehow get across, I think, a fairly sizable storm drain and then get out into the road where the sewer line is. So those are the 4 levels of cost and possibility that I know you all need to consider. But that's, I believe, what we're here for. I'm here for just from a technical standpoint.
And personally, I really appreciate that very logical presentation on what the options are. We just need to figure out what fits with our regulations. I can't make head or tail right now which set of regulations apply. I'm perfectly happy if Mr. Maydow's project qualifies to keep it for the lowest cost option that's available, that's consistent with the regulations.
Sure.
We just got to figure it out.
So obviously that's what we're asking for, is the town consider that and make it the most practical. I know there's a whole regulatory framework that we have to deal with, but from an engineering and practicality standpoint, we obviously ask as low as we can on the scale.
We have no incentive to make this more complicated than it is. We just got to make sure that we are applying our own regulations as they're written to the best we can interpret them.
Okay.
I think the last time we saw this there was some issue with the back water fees. Is that cleared up now? Is they willing to go through with that?
I'd have to ask Karen, I don't know.
And that's just because of the delay in hooking up?
Well, right, after so many years,
It's the water bond, folks, it's the water bond, it's the reservation. And if you didn't have a reservation for water to connect now, we go back 10 years.
Yep.
And there's a memo in the packet. So the total cost to connect to municipal water and sewer back in September 2024 was $6,993.42. That was for 2 units. So if the plan has changed, there's no zoning permit for a 1 unit. There's a zoning permit for a 2 unit. And Fletcher, you're right. That lot is a non-conforming lot in the village. It was pre-existing before the zoning regulations. So, if you can put 2 units in there, great. 1 unit makes sense, but it's not my property. But to connect to municipal water and sewer, at that time, for 2 units, it was $6,993.42. Now, that right there is part of the cost. And Michael Marquis is correct too. There's a map in the package that does show where the water line is, which is right in front of number 12. And then the sewer line is out a little ways from the building. But again, as sewer and water commissioners, I leave this with you.
It's also worth noting that grandfather status doesn't last forever. if, the building was not being used as, to whatever use the grandfather argument is being applied. If it ceases to be used like that, I think within a couple of years, you can't claim grandfather status anymore. And as far as 12 looks like it's been vacant for a while. So
Yes.
I think we're sort of starting from square one and trying to figure out, as Michael has nicely laid out, what's the most logical thing that we can do that fits within our regulations.
Yes, hold on.
So this would just be the cheapest cost for you guys is connecting instead of digging up, is that?
Of course, I
Yeah.
mean, that we don't have to go outside.
So it's not like it's not possible or anything?
No, I think both, anything's possible.
Okay.
It's,
What's currently being done for water at 12?
nothing, so that
So,
building,
that building is not, it's empty?
It's under renovation to do the apartment.
It's under renovation for
an
but
apartment.
nobody has lived it.
Correct.
It's not currently an apartment.
Correct, not currently apartment.
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
Karen, can I ask, what Michael, sent, for what the usage and stuff would be for the increase for the one apartment? Do they have that in their packets?
Yes, that is in their packet.
Okay, thank you. You do see it, that it's not much of an increase as far as flow? Yeah, hold on, I'll ask.
yeah, the point of those calculations was just to show what, especially the water line, what was put in there in the past is certainly adequate size-wise. 2-inch water line can handle an awful lot. A 4-inch sewer line can handle quite a bit too, so.
Well, that's engineer stuff, and I trust you entirely.
Yeah, well, it's,
That's good to know. Neil wants to know if he can speak one last time or again, or?
Briefly,
Yeah, briefly.
Neil, you can speak again briefly, I'll bring it back over, hold on. Hold on, I gotta bring you over so they can hear you, hold on. Yeah, briefly, hold on.
There's still confusion about that, so I don't want that to be a further issue. And that could be just the language between the parties. I don't think that needs.
Neil, you're back on with the board.
I think grant anything except that they're two separate entities, and that's been a problem and has delayed things because there was confusion over that. And secondly, I did get town permits to construct 2 independent apartments, but the buyer who's under contract decided that he'd rather just have 1 apartment instead of 2 small apartments, and that's his prerogative. So the amount of usage is related to 1 apartment, not 2. And I guess that's all I have to say. And let me know how, what is, this has gotten more confusing. I thought it was a simple, answer from the town and from the board previously, because I never would have gone through the massive renovation if it was questionable. I hopefully it doesn't create more of a negative thing when we talk about the size of the lots and this and that. That all should have been hashed out previous to.
Thank you.
okay, I think it's really important if this piece of information that I'm now just understanding is that this is, he wants to do this so that he can sell this.
Is this?
Yeah, he has a potential
So
buyer,
he has
yes.
a potential buyer,
Yes.
and this is to try to
Complete the sale.
complete the sale
Yes.
so that he can, okay, so any benefit will go to him in the price of what he can sell it for, but to whoever the new buyer is. Okay, that's really an important piece of information to me.
sounds like we need to do,
Yeah, I think,
Larry.
Yeah,
I think we need Larry to help us sort
Yeah.
out what the legal status is, and he's speculating on possibilities here. We need him to come to rest on something and give us some clear advice. And that, well, he won't go out and examine the structure, but I think if we have questions, maybe Michael can say, yes, this is what's there.
right.
have you seen the layout? I mean, you've been in the building?
I've been in the building.
Can you speak to this issue of whether the two buildings are connected or not? That seems like a really,
What's your,
are they connected? What we're looking at says there's an alleyway on all three sides of the building.
Right, so there is an alleyway, but there is, I don't know how to describe it. There are connections, like roof connections that have been made that I guess you can get through that alleyway
Right.
without being outside.
Right.
Okay,
Once-
so it's covered.
It's,
Correct.
right, there's covered
Uncovered
connections.
alley, right?
The walls are not abutting one another,
Okay.
if I remember right. But you can walk in a door, walk through a covered alleyway, and the
Okay.
building, and it's only 3 or 4 feet, it's not very wide,
Right.
that separates these buildings.
So once you go down the alleyway, what is connected is a small rubbish room for the tenants to put their rubbish in. So it has bins in it. And then adjacent to that now on the first floor of the 12 Kimball is a 1-bedroom, well, it was gonna be a bedroom, but it's now gonna be a kitchen area that's set up for a kitchen area, which Floyd, the plumber, has done a lot of the plumbing, all but the connection that we're requesting from both buildings, which is doable from his perspective, from what I've understood, if it's approved to do.
Well, will that kitchen then connect the two buildings? Like, will it be one, or is there still the alleyway?
It would be, the alleyway, okay, envision the alleyway, I wish I had a drawing. The alleyway goes this way, so you're walking in, and this is 14 Kimball, over this way.
Yeah,
And then the 12 Kimball is right in front of 14 Kimball.
yeah, I
The
have a
brick-
map.
Oh, you have
Yeah,
one, okay.
Yeah.
So, yes, like Michael
But
was
is
saying,
the
they're
wall-
not really
Okay,
connected.
so
as-
the wall of the kitchen is not constructed, will not be constructed against the wall of 14 Kimball.
I believe it has been built to it. Yes, there's no separation.
But this is the
Inside
back,
the
this is the
But it's
back
the
part.
back side of
It's
the
the
dwelling
back
of
side
the
of
12.
so the two buildings are being connected with the kitchen?
I don't know how to answer that.
I mean,
Or is there still an alleyway?
I think they butt one another, but I don't think they're connected to be one building, if that's what you're asking.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're
yes.
trying to
Yeah.
figure out, if they are or
So-
not
so-
one
so you-
building.
Yeah, so you have the alleyway, but you have to understand 14 wraps around
Yeah,
in
yeah.
an L.
You can see it in the
Around
picture,
12.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
And what was the separation between 12 and 14 in the back is now the kitchen.
Correct.
So that has gone, but it's not intended to make them one building. It's just that they're
Hi, we're still trying to.
tied
address things.
together.
I'll let you listen, hold on. You can listen, hold on.
So Peg, there's a sketch drawing in your packet.
I'm trying to find the one that will answer this question.
Well, there's a map.
I got the map, yeah.
So there's 12 Kimball Hill right there, and then there's 14.
Right, so now I'm looking, where's the area of detail? Is there any,
I
Is
don't
this
know.
still
I don't think they would
on
see the
there?
renovations on that, would they?
That's an old, well, my map's an old map.
it
That
still
goes,
hasn't answered the question, Karen, of whether they're connected. This looks like it was not, they are not connected, so.
and that's an old map. This is something that has physically been done in
No,
the
I'd have to
last.
see. I'm looking at it.
Where's the kitchen?
Isn't the kitchen back
Yes.
here? I mean, you can correct me, Brenda.
So
on
does that make these two touch?
The bedroom's touching that other side of the wall, yes.
Something that this now touches this wall.
They're questioning if the kitchen, what we're calling the kitchen in the new apartment is searching.
Karen, maybe we need to do a site visit, take a walk sometime,
Yes, Neil says yes, it's considered.
Yes.
you know, just so we can put eyes on this.
I would gladly bring anybody over there when they need to show them the building and the area. Yeah, Karen has my number and my email, so.
So I think at this point, we're not making a decision.
Okay.
We've got some more research to do.
Okay.
The board consensus.
Yes, I,
Karen, you have anything you wanna add?
No, sir.
well,
They can't
Your
ask-
face
they
is
can't-
frozen. So that was very brief.
Yeah, you keep freezing too.
I
Looked
think we're
impressive.
gonna take Larry's memo and distill it into a series of questions that need to
I
be
think
answered.
so.
Can I ask one final question?
Go ahead.
So with there being a potential buyer, and us wanting to sell the building, is there a time frame or window that you could give us to when we would get feedback on how we can proceed?
I would say this is gonna take some time, if there's no, we can't put a timeline to this.
Is it like months or weeks or? I'm just trying to, how to move the process along from
I think
our end also, I mean,
it partially depends on us, but it also depends on town council and his schedule.
town council.
Sometimes it can take us a while to get responses. But that's why I say, if we can distill it into just a series of yes or no questions, or simple
Like Michael
questions,
presented, yeah, okay.
then, then we can figure out who's the right person to answer that question and,
Okay.
put those questions to them. But some of this is literally title stuff, and we ought to send that to town council.
Okay.
Can you confirm that I think last time the issue was the back bond payment, is that not an issue anymore?
I do not have that answer, I could ask Neil.
No, I mean, that's fine, Karen can take that
I guess
up.
Karen can answer that, she'll look it up for us.
Yeah, she can
Well,
deal
so
with
I
you.
have one question, but Karen will look into it. All right, Neil, they're gonna get back to you on that. Please do
Thank
some
you.
research. Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you all.
Mr. Fairman?
Mr. Chairman, I take the liberty of offering a suggestion to these folks that it probably would have been facilitated and still could have been facilitated if you'd given a brief presentation of the project, which would be an overview, instead of getting immediately into the weeds that certainly are baffling to everyone. By the way, I've been involved in this kind of thing before. No, if you like, you gave everybody the pieces of the puzzle without showing them the picture on the box. And so I'm suggesting that this might help to straighten things out for everyone, is if there were either a written or an oral presentation, and it also could be very helpful if the property manager were personally present. I realize there may be reasons why this person could not be present, but with a presentation and with everybody present, then there is something specific that everybody understands to talk about. That's all I need to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fairman.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Michael. All right. Any other public comment on that? Moving on, request to purchase a pump for Putney Pump Station. It's Karen.
So we had an issue at the pump station and both pumps were down. One was repaired, it's back in operation. And the second pump is an original from 1977. So, because of the lead time to get these pumps, I'm asking the select board to approve this $20,153.78. Actually, it's less than that, sorry. $19,013 because we do not pay a state tax, we're tax exempt. To order this, it's going to take 8 to 12 weeks to get here. The pump station will continue to operate on one, but it just adds more stress to it. We will have to pump the tank more frequently. That cost is at $225 an hour. So to replace the one in kind right now is going to be more money, and there's going to have to be some adjustments made. So we're going with this pump. It is the same size as the pump that's in there now. And it'll work fine. So we don't need the bigger pump, but this is the alternative, and I'll get here quicker.
Didn't we have, did you just say 2 pumps went down?
Yeah, we had 2 pumps down in that one pump station.
And we had 1 pump that we'd already purchased on hold, right? Didn't we?
No, that was the one that we had repaired. This one right here is going to be the replacement for the second one, which will be brand new.
Okay, I thought we had agreed to keep a pump, a
I think we
spare
did.
pump.
Was that the well pump, Karen?
Yes, that is the well pump, Peg.
Sewer.
Oh, sewer pump as opposed to well pump. Okay.
Yeah. The other thing we're trying to do, because as we replace pumps, of course, we don't want to replace them new if we can repair them, right? But as we replace pumps, because every pump station is a little different and the pumps are different sizes. So it's not like you can take a pump, have it repaired, put it on a shelf as a backup. So we don't have backup pumps for the pump stations, and that creates a problem, right? So with 2 pumps down, they were, pumping the tank quite a bit. And then we repaired 1 pump. It's running fine on 1, but it definitely needs that second pump. And this is the cost to purchase the pump. I recommend that we move ahead with the purchase.
And then the other ones that we replace will be the same kind of pump so that we can live that dream? No.
No. So the big pump that's in there now, Bex,
Yeah.
because of the size, that one's just going to be like tossed away or scrapped or whatever they do with those big honking things after they die. But the second one will be new. I don't think we would want a $20,000 pump just sitting on a shelf, so as a backup. But we'll have to inventory the pumps and take a look and be proactive, because we have an aging system and things are going to break, as we know, and it's happening now more and more.
Do you know how much we spent in hauling fees while this was down?
I only saw one invoice, Eric, so far. It was that $1,500 one from Best Septic. And not only that, but it's the cost of having the contractor come down and pull the pumps, troubleshoot, and then actually go out and look for bids, on equipment that we can put back in there.
Is there any way that over time we can move towards standardizing these pumps? Can the pump station itself be modified so that it accepts a pump so each time we replace one of these, we can sort of do some work, but then it might make sense to have one spare on the shelf.
Right. We could do a spare, for each pump station, right? There's 6 of them. We're going to be looking at Alice Holloway. That's getting a complete upgrade, Fletcher. because of the project that's going in. So, yeah, when we look at those pumps, and the other thing too is now you can get a standard pump or you can get a Cadillac pump, right? So standard pump is like on a regular electrical line, right? Your Cadillac is going to be on a 3-phase power source, right? So, you know, you look at what's going to be more efficient, right? And can, you know, work with less resistance, right? So we are looking at that as this will be the second upgrade because we did Old Depot for Putney Landing. You know, and that was paid for by the project. And Landmark College, you know, there's been some work over there. We've gotten new pumps over there as well. But we are looking at trying to modernize and have the same equipment and have one backup on a shelf. So then we can just pull it, replace it. You know, some of our pump stations have 2 pumps in it. So, but yeah, we're looking at trying to make sure they're all the same.
Okay. I think we should.
Any public comment? Mr. Kramer?
Just a question, Mr. Chairman, for our town manager. The large standalone electric panel at the dead end of Old Depot Road, is that associated with a pump station?
The power that's right outside of it?
That is a pump station, Mr. Kramer, yes.
It is?
That is the Old Depot pump station.
Yeah, thanks.
Alright, can I hear a motion? Do we have one?
Sure, I make a motion that, do we have to make a motion for this? Yeah, that we authorize
I
Karen?
think we do.
Do we need to make a motion?
I would, just because
Okay.
of the price on it.
Okay, I make a motion that we authorize Karen to purchase a new pump
For the amount of?
for the amount of,
$19,013.
there you
Yes.
go.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
Alright, select board boards and commissions, timely posting of agenda minutes.
Oh, that's me.
That is.
Yeah, so I would like the select board, this is, information. Our communications liaison is herding cats when it comes to boards and committees getting agendas in a timely fashion. Not only agendas, but minutes. We've had this conversation before. And she has alerted certain committees that receiving an agenda a day before a meeting does not constitute a legally warned meeting, and you cannot conduct any business. And in the past, committees and boards were, they would approve and adopt rules of procedure because all of that's in, you know, the document. So what is the board's, what do you want to do? How do you want to handle this? Because boards and committees are under the authority of the select board.
I think we need to impress upon all the boards and committees the importance of complying with the open meeting law, which is what all of this stuff is, post notice to the public, posting agendas, and posting the minutes, which is often the tag end that gets most ignored. And ultimately, I mean, I hate to say it because it's sort of shooting ourselves in the foot, but if we can't get boards and committees to comply with that very clear legal mandate, we need to relieve them of their responsibilities. We can't have boards just not complying with the law.
I agree.
Rachel, do you have your hand up?
I do. I just wanted to add, I think what I've noticed overall is that we have a lot of people who have either been on boards for a while or are coming in new, and none of them are actually getting any sort of orientation or training. They're not held to any obligation to learn about open meeting law. That really stands out in my mind the number of times I have to remind people, say, these are the 3 legal spots that we've already designated that you need to post at. And, I wind up going and looking at the library and post office and seeing that they're not there, or just happen to because I'm going to the post office already for my daily tasks for my clerk job. So I've noticed in the past there's been way back, I've seen once a year meetings where the select board got together with everyone, not just the chairs and vice chairs, but everyone who was on a board and sat down and said, hey, this is, we're going to go over the reminders, like a yearly refresher on who's doing what. This is who needs to be reported where. Some sort of accountability needs to happen for them going under training. I appreciate that they're jumping in and going for it, but there's some education missing, I think.
Thank you. I agree with that.
It's a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that some time ago, I vaguely remember. And I don't know. I don't know who wants to do that, who can do that, who has the bandwidth to do that.
To do what? To talk to like each.
But basically to create some kind of system, that what we need is a system. And so it could be through multiple different ways. It could be through going to committees and talking to the committees and commissions about their obligations. It could be organizing a gathering that's all boards and committees and, where we, cover this as well as anything else we want to talk, or it could be the clerk, the chair, writing something up and dispersing it. I mean, it's something that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't just one way that we could do it, but it seems like we need somebody on
doing
a
it.
select board member to say, I want to take this on as a project to make sure that committees and boards are aware of their obligations under open meeting law.
Didn't we talk at some point about having somebody come and do something similar to what Sue does about the planning commission, like hearing from everybody on these boards in some certain amount of time, like once every X amount of months, and that could be an opportunity to say like, hey, does everybody who sits on your committee know, have you done like VLCT training, or is there something available for that? I don't know.
Well, yet again, it's kind of the same bigger issue.
Yeah.
The issue of the relationship between the board and committees and us, and yeah.
Guess we gotta figure something out on that.
I suggested, right now, I think we got the bandwidth to send out a reminder. But maybe in the process of reorganizing all the committees after town meeting, we make part of the process that first meeting involves a pep talk about open meeting law. Maybe we each go to some committees or something, but just impress on people the need to both know the law and comply with it, and that it's not a small thing, it's not optional. Because if the stuff the committee is doing is invalid under the law and we act on their recommendations, what's the status of our action?
Right.
You know, this is,
Rachel, I don't need you to like be naming names here or anything, but how big of a problem is it? Like how many committees are we really running into trouble with?
I mean, I haven't kept track, but I would say over the past couple months, there's been, I mean, a good at least once a month, if not twice a month, there's a committee that I have to say, hey, I noticed you didn't put this up. You're going to have to reschedule them. You know, we would suggest you reschedule the meeting as this has not been legally warned. You know, you really want to be fully transparent about what's going on. And I'll be happy to reschedule it for you. And then there's some committees that I'm still missing minutes from February that I'm tired of I'm asking for. And I keep hearing it's going to happen, and it doesn't. It's been an ongoing thing since I've started. I've been here 2 years now. I've noticed it's also a matter of like they're talking to me, like I'm the person they're going through, and I'm not really a person of authority in their minds, nor do I want to be in that sense. But if I'm the only one if I'm keeping track of these stuff like that and I'm asking them to do things and I'm not getting responses, it's like spinning your wheels. It's a regular process for me. It's a regular part of my job the entire time I've been here.
Rachel, could I come and make an appointment and talk with you and see if we can brainstorm, or I should
Totally, I
okay,
love that, yeah.
great. I'll talk
Thank
and
you.
then
Yeah,
we can all talk.
yeah,
Okay.
that would be great.
Rachel.
Mr.
Leave her
Chairman?
on my hand.
Mr. Chairman, I take the liberty of suggesting, by the way, building on what Select Person Proctor has said that is truly excellent. It actually is, obeying the open meeting law is an individual and personal responsibility. So I take the liberty of suggesting that it actually is much simpler. When you appoint someone to a board or a committee, or reappoint them, they sign a document saying, I acknowledge and agree to abide by the following, where you state the requirements of the Vermont open meeting law. At that point, we know that they know exactly what they are supposed to do and when, and so do they. Now they can be held to account if they do not do it, because nothing there is optional. It is a state law. And in fact, there are both civil and criminal penalties for violating the Vermont open meeting law. We're not talking optional here. We are talking about mandatory with serious consequences. But if you put it that way, which is commonly done in all kinds of fields, then you have the person in writing signing and dating and witnessed, if you like, I know this and I agree to do this. So if they don't, then you can say, well, basically, as Select Person Proctor has pointed out, would you like to comply or would you like to be relieved of your duties? It's simple as that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think as far as putting stuff on the agenda, if it's not there by the time frame, it shouldn't be on there. There's no exceptions. In my opinion, we need to hold them to a standard.
Oh.
She says things come in late, want it on the agenda.
Oh, on our agenda?
Yeah, if that's.
I don't think that.
Is that what you were saying,
That's not
Rachel?
what we're talking
No.
about. No, we're talking about posting
Just
their
posting,
agendas.
okay.
Yeah, that was my understanding. Okay, thanks, Beth, for.
Thank you. Any other public comment on that? No. Karen, do you have anything else with that?
I do not.
Okay. Moving on, holidays, Thanksgiving, November 26th, and Christmas Eve's December 24th. Was that you,
Yeah.
Karen? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Try to take me away.
We run into the holidays and, this is our busy season. So we're gonna have to decide what you wanna do with those select board dates.
Oh, really?
We don't have to decide tonight.
But pretty darn soon we do. I mean, I think we
Should probably figure it.
the 26th is coming right up.
Right.
So we have a meeting next week for budget discussions. You have a meeting on November 12th, sorry.
Right.
That's your regular meeting. The 19th's open right now, but that could be another budget meeting. We can play it by ear and maybe, if it's a regular meeting and it's a light meeting, we may be able to go without. If we're doing our budget meetings, on opposite weeks, okay? So that might be an option. You could always meet on the 3rd for a regular meeting. Or we can just do warrants on the 26th of November. Or the treasurer just signs the warrants and we do, we have a heavy next meeting agenda.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it on the 26th, the night before Thanksgiving. That's gonna
I
work
think we
out.
just do the warrants. Let the treasurer sign them and we'll just have to have a happy meeting.
Right. And December 24th is probably gonna be the same. I don't see, we can get payroll and accounts payable done.
That would be the best option right now.
So something to think about. It'll come back around and we'll have to make a, decision.
We don't have anything on the 19th, right? November, we don't have a work session.
Well, what's on there? What does that say?
Special 5?
Is that
We don't have anything on the 19th right now, but I have some things with the fire department and the library.
Okay.
So I'm trying to stagger some of this budgeting because there's some discussion with it. I don't want to make heavy budget meetings for the select board.
So is the 19th a tentative budget meeting for us?
Yes. Just hold it.
I recommend you hold all your Wednesdays unless it falls on a holiday.
Gotcha.
Actually, it's actually, okay, I actually have the 19th in there.
And we're meeting on the 19th, Peg.
What'd you say? Well,
This is our
it's
meeting
a
on
problem
the
because
19th.
I have something that meets on the alternate Wednesdays.
Oh,
I
gotcha.
actually have a regular thing that I schedule on the opposite Wednesdays. And I've tried to rearrange them for these budget meetings, but every time I do it, it's a challenge. So, but I will keep trying. And
Okay, well, thank you for your effort.
yeah. But I know I will not be here. The night before Thanksgiving would be a bummer, but big bummer. I'd like to not be here, but the Christmas one, I absolutely will not be here.
Yeah,
That
understandable.
I don't have a choice.
So we will work around those 2 dates, okay?
All right, moving on.
Okay.
Regulating the disposal of solid waste.
You've got a red line copy that came back from Mr. Slason. making some recommendations on changes, most of which I think are very helpful, and some of which I'm a little. One part of it seems to be shifting the focus from, existing or solid waste that's been on property for a while to who is in the act of disposing of solid waste. And I think that shift is a significant move away from what we were trying to accomplish, or what, at least where my starting point was. So I'd like the board's approval for me to respond to Mr. Slayson and see if he and I can work out some compromise on the language, or maybe put it in 2 paragraphs, that address both the situations. But other than that, I think his suggestions are very helpful. I just think we need to have another pass at it before it's ready for prime time.
I think that's gonna help it move along, so.
Yeah, I think we're pretty close on it. I think it's a good thing to have, and the changes that he's proposing aren't huge, so I think we can wrap it up soon.
Right.
I'm good with that.
That works for me.
Excellent.
That's good. Any public comment on rules of procedure that we're talking about? Mr. Fairman?
Mr. Chairman, there doesn't seem to have been a clear transition between solid waste and rules
Sorry.
of
Sorry,
procedure.
Mr. Fairman. Yeah, any public comment on solid waste? Okay. All right, moving on, now we're going to rules of procedure for the Putney Selectboard.
And that one, this proposal has a long history. I mean, literally, I think the first or second meeting when I was elected, and I objected to some of the wording of it and suggested we try to make it a little more welcoming. And the response I got was, well, why don't you rewrite it? If you don't like it, rewrite it. So I did. And that took a while, and it's been through a number of iterations. And then when it came back to the board, I was asked to produce a red line version, which was actually because of the technology involved. I don't use Microsoft Word. It was a bit of a challenge, but I succeeded in doing that. And I warned the board that it was going to be a mess. And when it came back, it was a mess. And then everybody said, this is a mess, we don't want that. And so it got, meanwhile, Jeanette White went through it, made actually a page of points that she thought should be either modified or addressed or whatever. And I went through that and incorporated some. Others I thought, I sat down and talked with Jeanette about it. And they got incorporated into this. So now what you have in front of you is a non-redlined, somewhat modified new version. The last suggestion was that Bex and I sit down and talk about it, but frankly, I thought that was kind of unfair to Bex because it didn't have a lot of history, so I wasn't sure what that was going to accomplish. But it also was clear from the discussion that the board itself had not really spent a lot of time working with the draft. So I suggest it's time to do that. As Jeanette said, it took her about 20 minutes. And I suggest that we're now at a point where I would appreciate it if the board would look at the draft in front of them and make some substantive suggestions of things that the board doesn't feel are appropriate or somehow need to be modified. And that we work off of those lists rather than just ping-ponging this around. It's been ping-pong for about a year and a half. So that's what I suggest. Maybe we could put this on the next regular meeting agenda and have board members prepared to actually comment on it.
I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
And I also would like to clarify from my point of view, in looking at things that have been significantly altered. I know this red line concept is not what's useful for me to understand something. What's very useful for me, if I'm looking at something that's like being modified significantly, is if the person who is modifying it makes it really clear to me what they are modifying. So like, so I'm just saying what works for me in terms of my learning process, my comprehension process for future reference. So if we're trying to modify something, it really helps for me, for somebody to present, this is what I am modifying. I would like to add, whatever, whether it's about the role of the vice chair, this is the modification that I'm making. And even doing that in a chart form or some form that allows me to be able to see, oh, what's being changed here is from this to this and from this to this. So that we can talk about exactly what you're saying, Fletcher, the substance of it. Because I do feel like it's so easy to get caught up in the red lines of it that the substance is, I can't even see through the trees what the forest is anymore. So hopefully, I don't know, we'll take this. I'm happy to take this now and look at it and consider it, because it doesn't have any red lines on it. And I'll take it and put it side by side with the old one. And unless, I don't know, I guess I can do that myself. That's really what I need to be able to see, like, what are we changing here, And I can't tell what we're changing just by redlining it. It needs to be another format of.
Yeah, as I say, the red line was a nightmare. That was a mess.
Yeah. I give us all permission never to do that again.
Probably the single most substantive change to it is defining the role of the clerk a little more. Which in the course of working on this, I discovered, I don't think the clerk was even mentioned in the existing law. And yet if you look at the statute on the organization of a select board, what it says, one of the things it says is at the organizational meeting, you should appoint a clerk. Well, we don't know what that person's going to do. So admittedly, I assigned a role to the clerk, but since it's also, the clerk is legally under the open meeting law. If we get a request, well, really a FOIA request, a request for public documents, the clerk is the person who's legally responsible to sign off on that when it gets sent back. Admittedly, the office staff would do most of the work on pulling that together, but ultimately, that's the role of the clerk. And similarly, as you may have noticed, each time we sign things, there's one, the minutes page section of what we have to sign every meeting. After we approve the minutes of the prior meeting, it's the responsibility of the clerk to sign that. So those are, it seemed to me that was a lack in the prior policy. I think it is just a policy, really. But, but that's probably the biggest, really the only substantive change. I mean, I know that Eileen objected that all the work that went into the hybrid committee structure had been pulled out. Wrong, it's all there, it just, the language got broken into 2 paragraphs because it was impenetrable.
Right.
That was my sense.
To me, my memory, and I know we've been around this so many times, my memory, from my point of view, the issue that was the most substantive to me had to do with, you know, that public participation piece and how we were framing that.
Yes.
And so that's really like a substantive thing that that I hope when we get to talk, I assume that's still in here. That's changed.
Yeah, there's a lengthy section on public participation, but the tone, I mean, that was really the focus of my objections to begin with.
Right.
And my goal was to make it feel a little more open and welcoming to them. That line about this is a public meeting but not a meeting of the public drove me crazy.
Right.
And it's also, in particular, because the open meeting law says the public has a right to comment on everything in the agenda. Well, what about that doesn't sound like a public meeting?
So I guess what I would like to do then okay, so I guess we're back to square one, really, of reviewing this and seeing where we're at with it. You know, we're kind of back to square one. And let's see where we go with it, you know?
Karen?
So I just want to point out 2 typos, Fletcher.
Oh, good.
So on page 2,
So eager.
under agendas,
Yes.
well, that's because I read it and I found them. Where it's www.putneyvt. Should be gov.
Right, that's right, I forgot about that.
That's okay. On the first page, it was right, so you're 50%. On page 3, under public participation in board meetings, the second line, discuss with the board matters on the agenda for the meeting and matters of concern.
Mm-hmm.
Commented.
And that's all I found. But if the select board were to adopt something like this, this is what other boards and committees can also follow.
Yes, hopefully we can provide them with a template.
And they would be consistent, right? So
Ideally. The hobgoblins of my little mind.
Hanging my head in shame and asking who our clerk is. You.
Looking at.
Okay, great, good to know. Thank you.
Alright, so this is coming back.
Yeah.
Again.
So this is coming back in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any public comment? Mr. Fairman?
Mr. Chairman, building on what our town manager just said, why shouldn't every board and committee under the jurisdiction of the town of Putney Selectboard observe the same rules of procedure? I can't think of any reason why they shouldn't, and it certainly is confusing to the public if they have to deal with different rules of procedure depending on where they happen to be right now. I'm a detail person and I would rather not do this. I also, as I usually do, second what Select Person Proctor has said about public participation. And yes, indeed, that was off-putting when that statement was read at the beginning of the meetings, and the reason was to quell public participation, as was moving the public comment on items not on the agenda to the end of the meeting to make people see if they can stick around that long. I would also add that, beyond what Select Person Proctor said, we should not forget that the Vermont Supreme Court has said that public participation in meetings under the Vermont Open Meeting Law is a constitutional right under the Constitution of the state of Vermont. So we're not dealing with something here that we can treat lightly. There of course have to be rules, as there always do in public meetings, but in no way is this optional, or nor can it be given short shrift. My understanding is that you're not actually going to act on this evening, right?
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, moving on. 2026 Putney Community Service Award.
So this is in your packet as a reminder that we do this every year. We put this out to the public, and, nominations will be due December 5th. And basically, the community nominates somebody for Community Service Award, somebody that has put a lot of time and energy into maybe a project or projects. It could be a business person, it could be a volunteer, it could be a teacher, it could be anyone in the community that has rise to the occasion and somebody nominates them. And we have had groups too. We have given the Community Service Award to groups of people. So.
Okay. Select Board Old Business, draft financial policies, fund balance policy, and VLCT new rule.
So this is back on the agenda. We agreed we would review it, and we had a fund balance policy that was adopted January 8th, 2025, and it was premature because we had not voted to actually create that fund balance. And in the meantime, the law changed, where municipalities now can roll over surplus money year to year. Although the town did vote in March to create a unrestricted fund balance reserve, and VLCT has directed us to keep that vote intact, and now we need to actually create the policy that will govern that reserve fund. Now, this is just for the general fund balance reserve. And if you recall, it was for the $438,000 in, hang on. It was over $438,000 that was voted to move into this fund balance. If I can find it, hang on. $438,105. Peg, were you able to look at the old policy and the new? I know you wanted to make sure that the percentage rate that we agreed to was the same.
I did not look.
It is 24%.
Yeah, so basically the reserve fund appropriations is
The range,
almost word for word the objective that was in the policy that was adopted in January.
it's basically a 24% target with a range of 12 to 30. So if we go
Right.
above 30, we give money back to the taxpayers. If we go below 12, we
Right.
raise some funds. do some extraordinary action to bring it up, but our target is 24.
And this template, by the way, came from VLCT.
Which, as I like to point out, they can't tell us to do anything. They can provide us support services and recommend things, but it's on us to do it. That said, should we move this now? Are we ready to do that? This replacement, move this?
I'm ready if the board is ready.
I don't know if you, I mean, I think we need to have something in place, and the sooner the better. So it'd have to be a two-part to rescind the existing fund balance policy and replace it with the general fund balance reserve policy that's in our packet.
Right. That is correct, Fletcher.
So, did that sound like a motion?
Sounds like a motion to me.
Okay.
We have to do it two
It's
separate.
two parts. We gotta get the first one out of the way at the same time we put the new one in place, otherwise we create confusion.
Right. So you gotta repeal it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it, Fletcher.
Mr. Fairman.
Mr. Chairman, I want to clarify first, which are we talking about here? Are we talking about the unrestricted reserve fund that was passed at town meeting? Are we talking about the unallocated fund balance under the new Vermont statute effective July 1st, or both? Either or both? What are we talking about here?
So it's the unrestricted reserve fund balance,
Okay.
which would be your fund balance.
Now I understand that so far no money has been deposited in that fund.
That is correct. We haven't made that journal entry yet.
Okay. The reason I questioned that at the annual meeting is because the statute says the fund has to have a purpose. And it says if the purpose is to be changed, town meeting voters must change the purpose. Now, the purpose, as opposed to unrestricted, means any purpose. Now, as soon as the reserve fund has received a balance, the reserve fund will in fact exist, and then will be the time that that one can, and I shall ask a court to tell us whether in fact there can be an unrestricted reserve fund under the statute, because of the question of a purpose versus any purpose. Now, it has not been possible to do it up until now because the fund does not exist if it doesn't have any money in it. So this is simply as a matter of information. We're going to have to get this decided. But the other part of this is, and this is for your information, this is something that hardly anyone, I think, has heard of. I took a look for Vermont Supreme Court case law on the subject of reserve funds, and specifically municipal reserve funds, because there's condo reserve funds and all that sort of stuff, about which there's a lot of case law. There's only one case regarding municipal reserve funds, and this is what they say. This is the full Vermont Supreme Court bench in Town of Lunenburg versus Supervisor and Board of Governors of the Unorganized Towns and Boroughs of Essex County. For the attorney among you, the site is 2006 VT 71, paragraph 10. I quote, "Just because a taxing authority may provide for future expenses does not warrant unnecessary accumulation in the Treasury for the remote future or for contingencies which may never occur." They are quoting there E. McQuillan's The Law of Municipal Corporations, which I have learned online as a standard reference nationwide. They then quote a case from Illinois, Henry County Collector of Cook County, where they add, recognizing, and I'm quoting again, recognizing that a municipality cannot unnecessarily accumulate monies in the public treasury. What I'm letting you know there is that according to the Vermont Supreme Court, there are limits on what you can do there that have to do with, is it for the remote future or for contingencies which may never occur, appears to be the test. And I'm letting you know this simply for your information for now, because I found it out a few days ago. It's just sharing information. But something may come of it, of course, because at the moment, the town of Putney has $1.2 million of taxpayers' money in 8 reserve funds, some of which appear to be for the remote future or for contingencies which may never occur. So just sharing information at this point, but we do have to settle this question of whether, in fact, under the reserve fund statute, there can actually be an unrestricted reserve fund for any purpose when the statute says that there has to be a purpose and that the town meeting voters have to change the purpose if the select board wishes the purpose to be changed. So, you know, I'm quite willing to do what needs to be done in any manner to get this clarified. It isn't to cause trouble. It is simply, speaking as a citizen of Putney, it is everyone who pays or whose landlords pay taxes in the town of Putney. It's our money. So we can take it from there. By the way, small parenthesis regarding the rules of procedure. Selectperson Proctor, I attempted to contact you earlier today. I wasn't able to get your rules of procedure until very shortly, until afternoon, and I couldn't get through to you. I'd like to meet with you about that at our mutual convenience. I wanted to mention that so the public knows.
Unfortunately, I had to spend the day getting to Boston and back. And I want to tell you, no, there's too darn many people down there.
Well,
it's hard to get around.
I was there Monday, so I hear you.
Karen, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to let the board know that the language in this draft general fund balance reserve policy is the same language that the voters voted on in the article at town meeting in March. So if the select board wants to repeal the adopted January 8th, 2025 tonight, that would probably be good because it shouldn't have happened, okay, before the actual vote. So you can at least do that step and then take Mr. Fairman's comments in advisement. I mean, I have no other comment.
What's the board think?
Well, Mr. Fairman makes a good point about reserve funds, that they ultimately have to be approved by the town meeting, not just us. But but Karen is also correct, and we're not deviating much from what they already approved. As long as there's no money in the pot right now, we're not shooting a hole in the bottom of the pot that has money in it, then I think we're okay to, for right now, simply rescind the policy that we adopted on January 8th and give a little more thought to what we're going to replace it with.
Sounds good.
So I move that we rescind the fund balance policy adopted January 8th, 2025.
Second.
Public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
So, I would like to know here, like, what you think we should do to get more clarity on this.
I gotta go back and pull up the article that was passed at town meeting. The town manager says this doesn't deviate from that. If we're still within the parameters of what the town meeting approved, then I think we can adopt the policy, but I think it's good to check.
What, didn't Karen already check? I
Would
mean,
you like me to send it over to legal counsel with the articles?
I guess we could do that. If we're not gonna run into a problem with money that needs to be in an authorized account somehow, an approved purpose account, then if that's not an immediate problem, then I guess we've got time to do that.
Actually, I may have already done that and not received a response, but that's okay. I will double check myself. And if I have sent it once, I will ask for a response. If not, I will send the VLCT new role with this draft and get an opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to executive session, number 1, VSA 313A1.
Can we jump over the
Yeah, that's next meeting,
Okay,
performance evaluation, you still good with that? Yeah,
I'm sorry,
that's all right.
I missed the first few minutes.
So after making a specific finding that the premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or person involved at a substantial disadvantage. F, confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services to the body. And 2, the negotiating or securing a real estate purchase or lease options. 4, a disciplinary or dismissal action against a public officer or employee. But nothing in this subsection shall be constituted or impair the right of such officer or employee to a public hearing if formal charges are brought. And we're inviting Karen. And are we making a decision, Karen?
Yes, you will be
Okay, so,
on at least one item tonight.
so you're gonna come out here? So that-
7:47.
I got candy.
Okay, that's a Brian, I'll be right out.
Well, we just have to all be in the same room and get the TV off and all of that. What kind of candy you got?
Scandinavian swimmers.
Do you make a motion?
Yes, we'll make a motion. I hear a motion to go into executive session?
For all those purposes you just read off?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alright, we're back, come out of executive session at 8:17, and we have one motion on the table.
I move to authorize town council to enter into an agreement with council for Basketville to set the valuation of the Basketville property at $850,000 for the years 2024 through 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that's it. Next meeting, November 5th. It's a special budget meeting, a budget discussion meeting.
Yes.
It'll
General
be
fund.
Here at the town hall.
Mm-hmm.
Can I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, folks.